Hi, beautiful souls. This is Em. I wanted to talk to you guys about how I came to my spiritual journey. And hopefully, you can know where I am coming from and why I can relate to some of my audience. And I would probably say most of my audience, because they have probably been there, or they've been in that situation, or they're just they've been there before within their lifetime, right? So I want to tell you, I'm usually a very upbeat, very happy, very smiley type of person. That's how I always been. I'm never been one to be very grumpy. As I am definitely a free spirit, but when it comes to relationships, I have my morals, and I had my regulations, I had my rules, and I didn't bend them for nobody. So I was probably 17 when I met you would say my high school sweetheart, right? Very sweet. He was puppy love, right? But I got pregnant and we never got together as a married couple, because I just didn't want to be forced into a marriage that when a person I don't want to be forced into a marriage. If they loved me, they would have got married with me regardless if I was pregnant or not. So I did not give that a chance at all, and I stood my ground. But doing that decision, it basically, I was looked at by everybody in the community to say, oh, well, she's just like her mother. And now I was like a fuck girl, right? Like a fuck boy. I was like a fuck girl in everybody's eyes. Let's just say I was just with one person. But that's how a Hispanic culture sees it. If you get pregnant, the rules is that you have to get married, and so you won't be the talk of the town, right? So I finished my high school. My degree was my diploma and my daughter, Then, I had another baby, but it just didn't quite work. We had different beliefs on ethnicity, but it was with a different partner. Then I moved over here to San Antonio, so I can have a little career for myself and for my daughters, so I can provide for them. Just in case in anything, I always had my career to back me up, right? So as my mother was helping me, my family was helping me with my 2 children, I got my little degree and everything was good. But within the years that I was here, I met, basically, I fell in love, It was really, me and that person would always talk about it, because if it was destined or if it was coincidence, because it was just so weird on how everything came about. I even remember it so like if it was yesterday. I had to go and pick up my sister from work. She was supposed to be out at a certain time. I went to go and pick her up. I stayed in the car for at least like 2.5 hours. She didn't come out yet, and I'm like, oh my god, what is taking her forever? I text her like crazy. No, well, I'm not done, blah blah blah. So she's like, how about you come in? I'm like, well, I really don't want to come in, I really don't. She's like, wow, well, I'm not done, give me another about 45 minutes. Well, I did wait for another 45 minutes, didn't, so I decided to go inside, and inside the club, and I saw my sister that she was not done. So I just chilled at a table, watched TV, and be on my phone. But unfortunately, my phone had died. So, anyways, I'm doing my own thing or whatever, and all of a sudden, I see this guy, and I'm like, oh, this, oh, he's with his, girlfriend or whatever, because it was, entertainment club. And it was, I'm like, oh, so sweet. He's coming and visiting his girlfriend, right? At that moment, I didn't care who it was. It just looked kind of cute. That, the boyfriend was seeing the girlfriend. But anyways, so I'm just doing my thing, and I guess my sister tells this guy that I was looking at, hey, well, that's my sister. And he's, I guess, hey, well, why is she doing over there? Let me bring her over here. And so I still was watching the TV, and all of a sudden, I guess, like, he really comes really close to me, and I got startled, and he scared me, and I screamed, and we both laughed at each other, and that was basically the breaking of the silence, and, we hit it off right off of that, and, he was just the cutest little thing ever. I liked how it was just, he was just everything, what my image of my person that I had in my mind, it was exactly how he was. And we hit it off, we didn't see each other that day or whatever, and we started talking, I think a week later or 3 days later, and then we saw each other the following week, and that's how we started blooming, right, our relationship. And then it was, I would say, we spend whenever we had time, we would, because we would live apart. He lived in one town and I lived in another town, but we would see each other whenever we could. He would see me before Thanksgiving, Christmas, for my birthday, for his birthday. So whenever we were able to, we would see each other, and it was like an amazing connection. Like, it was so beautiful. But we were young, this was back in, I would say, 2014. And within that time, a little bit after my birthday, I would say probably February, March, around that time, I got pregnant. And I was really, really, really happy, because at one point, I mean, he was the only person that actually made me want to settle down. And, you know, from a long time, you know, from being single for a long time. So, of course, I was so happy, you know, that I was pregnant, and, you know, because that was, you know, something that I had really, really wanted. But at that time, well, within the times that we were together, since we met each other, he had already, was already in a relationship, but it was too late to get out of it. You know, I was engaging in it as much as he was, so we didn't stop it. So within that, I got pregnant, but then his significant other found out, and I guess gave him an ultimatum. And that day that I was supposed to let him know with the pregnancy test, he never shows up. And I waited for him that day, waiting in that town, and he never showed up at all. And it wasn't like him, because he was so wonderful to me. He knew his words. He was just very beautiful towards me. Oh, look at the little duck. So I knew that he had to call me. I just knew it, and I was not mad at him or anything. I was willing to basically hear him. Like, something had to happen. And that day came a week later, and he called me, and he basically said that, you know, he had to let me go, that it was not destined to be with me, you know. And I told him, I'm like, well, I'm pregnant. And he didn't believe me. And I even told him, like, just let's go the following day, check to see if I'm pregnant, and we can go from there. Whatever plans we were gonna do, right? But he didn't even give me even a chance, or even a chance for the baby. But I knew that he was sincere, because he was crying when he was telling me. Like, I knew that his love was very sincere, but at that, I mean, we knew we loved each other, but it's not the love that that I have now been feeling, or that we had felt, because I feel it. And so he basically, from that last call, I never heard from him anymore. And I still, like, it was 3 months, you know, because I did not want to terminate the baby, you know, as much as, you know, but he basically, the earth had ate him up. Like, he was nowhere to be found. Nowhere. I reached out to his cousins, his family, the significant other's father, everything, his brother, and I got in contact with the brother, and the brother said that he was going to give him the information, and I guess he never did. But I waited as long as I could, but I guess the last straw was when I had told my mother, and I was like the happiest person, because I was at Luby's, and, you know, I was craving a lot of things, and I was eating. And I just came out really blunt about it and say, hey, I'm pregnant and I'm gonna keep it. There's nothing that you can basically say right now. I'm really happy with this decision. And my mother, she basically said, hey, well, if you have the baby, well, don't expect me to have any part in this at all. And it got me thinking. It looked like if I was the only one that basically wanted this baby to be born. The father is nowhere to be found. And from my family side, nobody wanted the baby. The only person that wanted the baby was me. And even though I was not even big, but I would always communicate with my little tummy, and he would let me know when he was hungry, but once I had made the decision, because I was thinking, I'm like, so say if I have the baby, what would be his life? Like, nobody wants him, only me. What kind of life is how is it that it's gonna be? How is it that it's gonna work out for my son? What kind of life is it gonna be? A tortured life? And that's when I decided that I couldn't have it. So I did. When I had decided to make a decision, I said that I was very sorry, and if he can forgive me, because I really wanted to have the baby, but everybody it just wouldn't have been fair for him. So that was very very sad and very hard on me. And I had to basically move on with my life. But my whole belief system was I went about it with my heart, and it basically fucked me over. So now the next time that I'm in a relationship, I'm no longer gonna be listening to my heart. I am just basically gonna be what is convenient for me. What can that person provide for me? Well, I can provide for him. So basically I settled. I didn't even give a chance to the heart. And that's when I met my karmic partner. But it was so weird because at that time my grandfather had passed away, and as much as I wanted to slow things down, this was just the wheel was turning, and this was going to be my life, and this is what it was. And from what we knew, we were already living together. But it was never based on a love relationship. It was based on convenient, what you can offer me and what I can offer to you. So from the start, it was something that it was never ever gonna work. But I told myself, I'm like, well, what does it matter? I'm like, I'm not even gonna be with the person that I want to be with, so yeah, why not? So I've learned it was at the beginning it was great, when you meet somebody new, right? Somebody totally different, outgoing, funny, but he was very different from me. And if we were in our right state of mind, I don't think we would ever cross paths. But this lasted about, I would say, almost 4 years. And within this relationship, the beautiful outcome of it was my son, that I love so much. And we tried to make it work, but if the love was never there, and we were having problems as it is, and we would never meet each other halfway, it was a disaster. So eventually he left, and of course, having a breakup, especially when you live with somebody, even though the love was not there, but it was 4 years, or almost 4 years, and you get accustomed to that person, the way they live and everything. So it definitely hurt me. It definitely hurt my girls. And I did have a hard time with it, and I would say that's when everything started crashing down. With that, then he left us, and I lost the car, because it was still under his name. And then and this was within 3 months span, that all this had happened. And then the top of it was that we lost our home, and it was so much shit that I just didn't know how to deal with it. Usually I know how to deal with shit, but not being attacked so many fucking ways. And it was just really crazy, but it happened. And